What's up, guys? Today we have a review of what recently released. That is Project I.T.S by the Shadow Smoker Legion. To give background information, 1, yes, I'm a member of the Shadow Smoker Legion. 2, this review will not be even slightly biased. Just because I'm friends with the guys, just because I was hyped for this project, doesn't mean I'm gonna give you guys some fabricated review just because they're my friends. This is gonna be my God honest opinion of the cigar. Just want to get that out there right now. Now to the review. Both Tony of Soy Sauce Assassin and Eric of Midnight Cigars collaborated together and co-created this cigar. This cigar was cultivated in DR, but they're all undisclosed. This is a 6x52 Toro, with the MSRP being $19 a stick. There is only 500 boxes to be released with this project, each box containing 20, meaning the grand total of the whole box will be $380. This is a Maduro that goes from medium to full body. That's essentially all the information that there is about the cigar. Now let's light this baby up. So the wrapper has this very earthy, chocolatey barnyard smell, but the foot is very sweet. Yeah, wrapper and binder are kind of night and day from each other. The foot has a little bit more like a spicy sweetness to it, while the wrapper is more bolded and earthy and danky. Let's just circumcise this bad boy real quick. Like a fine. There you go. From cold draw, essentially from the cold draw, all you get is basically cedar. You get a lot of different notes depending on what you're using, depending on where you're actually either tasting or smelling. Like I said, the wrapper, you already heard what I got from the wrapper and the foot and just from the cold draw, all different experiences. So now, on. The initial light up, whew, just a freight train of spice. Yeah, it's a freight train of spice in the very initial light up. But once you get kind of past that spice, whew, you get this chocolate espresso. Woo. There's a little bit of floralness. Yeah, chocolate espresso, floral, sweetness, but a bomb of spice. It's a little intense for those who are not used to spice bombs. Typically after the first 10 to 15 puffs, that is when the spice levels do kind of dwindle down. From my previous experiences with the cigar, typically after the 10th to 15th puff, that's when the spice level kind of dwindles down and you get a little bit more of the notes of the cigar. So I'm just essentially waiting until I get to that point. I'll give you guys more of an in-depth notation, because notes, the spice seems to be a combination of like cinnamon, cumin, and black pepper, even a little bit of nutmeg. A lot of those exotic spices, combine them into one type of spice. That's what you're essentially getting in that very beginning, which is why I'm calling it a spice bomb. Cumin, nutmeg, cinnamon, and that black pepper. I'm essentially an inch into the cigar, and now the spice level is finally dwindled. So let's go see more in-depth notes I could probably get from the cigar. I get this leather, almost vanilla-like. That floral I got from the spice bomb section is not there anymore. Now it's becoming way more bolded, more grounded. It's like that first third of Tony and Eric is essentially telling you, don't fuck with us. Now the floral is kind of coming back. It pops in and out here and there, but the main primary note is the chocolate and the espresso. As I semi approach the second third, I'm getting a little bit of more earthy notes to it. But I think that's it for the first third. I'll see you guys in the second third. Let's take a second to appreciate the cigar, right? Look how cut clean that burn is. And also look at how beautiful that ash is. That is perfectly bone white, as in like this. They look almost the same. A very even ash. I'm gonna put my brightness a bit more higher because I want you guys to actually look at that. That is even. Typically when I do my reviews and you will see the ash of a cigar, you see different colors within the ash. This one is even, which I'm actually amazed. But as I smoke the cigar now, that espresso, the dark chocolate, the leather, gone. Now it becomes way more vanilla, way more floral, way more creamier, way more sweeter. The spice essentially just disappears. You get a little bit more of a like baking spices to it. Nothing that has like spice index. More of just spice as in bacon. Actually, I'm going to retract that statement. There's still a small residual of that spice, but it's definitely not in the same level as that very initial light. It plays more of a background character compared to anything else. The smoke up of the cigar is very nice. There is little to no resistance on the pull, meaning there's not that much stress on your jaw whenever you do smoke the cigar. The body cigar has started to kind of amp up. I kind of feel the cigar amping up a bit. The transition into the cigar is night and day, going from very bolded taste notes to now very somber sweet notes. There are small residuals with the espresso note, leaning towards more of like a latte note compared to the espresso note. It's starting to get a lot lighter. Now that a lot of the other notes that was predominantly in the front, it's now essentially evaporating, you're getting a little bit more of that earthy and leather note and cedar note that comes out to the forefront. This cigar is very complex. Now I'm getting floral and baking spices, mixing in with the cedar and leather and earth. I'll see you guys in the last third. I'm at this point of the cigar, and it became a lot more earthy. It still has floral notes to it, but the earth kind of overpowers everything else. And it's still very spicy. There's also quite a bit of leather to it, because the last part seems to be its final hoorah. But the strength, whew, you could feel it. Even despite me eating before smoking the cigar, you feel the strength. You can feel that it's definitely full at the moment. The last third has more of a cocoa taste to it compared to a chocolate note, meaning it's more raw to the chocolate note. This seems more like the dark chocolate aspect. What I'm getting from the transitions, in the very first third, it's very bold and spicy. Second, it's more sweet and floral. But the last third is more spicy and dank earth. There's even a little bit of like a nuttiness to it. Slight licorice. Very slight. The cigar starts strong and also ends strong. It also ends up very cedar-like. I think it's time for me to cast my ratings for the cigar. Let's start off with appearance. With the bands, it definitely stands out. You have the initial foot band. For the initial foot band, it just says special edition. With two bands that goes together, the band definitely stands out, especially on top of a cigar. When it comes to appearance, I'll give it a 9. For the fact that it catches your eyes with the gold, with the red, with all these different type of dyes that goes into it, it's very flashy. So for the appearance, I will give it a 9. For the construction, for the fact that from the very beginning to the very bitter end, it stood consistent. The pull and smoke output has been phenomenal. Very little to resistance. The ash stood the same consistent color throughout the whole way through. No spots, no tunnels, no nothing. It burned consistently almost all the way through. Barely ever canoed. And whenever it did canoe, it fixed itself in due time. With that being said, I'm gonna give the construction a 9. For taste, the very first third was very powerful with the spice. Then the spice simmered down, and you got a lot of that chocolate and espresso and baking spice. Then it converts into the second third. The second third became a lot more sweeter, a lot more floral, and a lot more smoother. Then for the last third, which I'm at now, became a lot more earthy, a lot more cedary, and became more well-rounded. Before I cast my rating towards it, this part is for Tony and for Eric. My genuine feeling about the taste notes is that the first, second, third was beyond a great ride. This last third seems a little bit lackluster. I'm not too big on the last third. It seems a little bit underwhelming compared to how the first and second third of the cigar was. The last third seems a little bit too neutral. With the earth, the little floral notes that comes in and out, it starts to dwindle a lot with flavor. It's not as potent as it was in the beginning. The flavors are still there, but it doesn't compete with what you had in the first and second third. The last third seems a little bit too muted when it comes to the taste notes, and it doesn't really transition very well from the sweetness. You kind of want the cigar to end bittersweet, having a little bit of that sweetness play into more of a bolder way. This cigar goes from something very floral to very earthy, which, I mean, it could work if you do like the earth taste notes, but I kind of just feel like it doesn't really work well towards the end. It's not super earthy as in like mud. It turns into that rich, dry soil that when it gets wet for the first time, doesn't petrichor style earth, and it will still pop in with much of the floral here and there, with the cedar note coming in and out. I feel like it could have been a little bit more, but it's still not horrible. It's still not bad. With that being said, I'm gonna give the tasting notes of the cigar a solid 8. So after adding all of my points in total and doing the average, cigar lands at an 8.5. Meaning this cigar is an ash. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Shadow Smoker Legions in the Shadow Project. This is Poppy Rick. As always, I love your faces, and I'm out.